All right, I might as well try something. I normally don't go live all the time, but they have this new vertical live feature that I'm trying out here. And I thought that it could be beneficial to tie a couple of knots on camera live. People could follow along, put a note in the comments if you want me to go back specific step. I figured that I'm going to tie 3 knots today, different knots, and all it does is it varies in how many loops you actually do of the tie when going to finish. We have the 4-in-hand knot, Prince Albert knot, and then I'm going to finish with the Van Wyck knot. So 3 knots, very simple. Once you know the first one, the other 2 are very easy to tie. Surprisingly, I'm not wearing one that I'm going to be tying today, ironically, but then again, at the end, I could always tie that one as well. So, but we might as well get started. Like I said, this is sort of a trial. Obviously, I don't go live all the time, which is fine. We'll see how it is, go from there. So like I said, the first knot that I'm going to show you how to tie is the 4-in-hand knot. This knot, like I said, once you know this knot, the other 2 knots, they're going to come very easy because it's only an additional step each time. I'll move back, or maybe I'll move this forward a bit, and maybe just tad bit down, so you can sort of see half my body here. For the 4-in-hand knot, cool tip or trick is that the tie, the bigger end tie, should be finishing right at your belt line. So a little tip as to how to get it to finish there, it all starts off with the smaller end length. And a tip that I like to do is, once you have your dress shirt on, obviously, there's different buttons. The buttons are normally spaced the same way. I take that smaller end and I count out 4 and then 5 buttons. So normally I'll take the smaller end and I'll position it either on the 4th button or the 5th or somewhere in between. But when I finish tying the knot, guess what? The bigger end's going to rest right at the belt line right there. So like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5's there. I'm going to probably position it on my 4th. Again, it's all trial and error. You might have to go back and have a look, play with it a bit, but we will go from there. Anyways, 4-in-hand knot. Got the bigger end on my right shoulder, smaller end on my left. I want to take the bigger end, I'm going to cross it over the smaller end. I'll move a little closer because it's so you can follow along. Taking the bigger end now, I'm just going to go underneath. Now this part is a little tricky for some, but again, it's slow and steady. What I like to do is I'll take just a finger and I'll position it downwards just like this. I then take the bigger end and all I'm doing is I'm going to cross my finger, because you'll find out at the end that we're going to finish tying the tie by going down the loop where my finger is currently. From here, I'm going to bring it up this way, up my neck. So I have it here. I'm just going to go up. And then I see the entire time I still have my finger positioned with this loop right here. Well, guess what? We're going to take the bigger end now and we're going to go right down where my finger is. So I'm just going to take my finger out and then I'm just going to feed that bigger end right through. And there we go. That's the 4-in-hand knot. So what you want to do, if you want to move it up to your top of your collar here, you're going to find the smaller end, you're going to pull down on that while taking the knot itself, and you're going to push up. So I'm just going to pull down, push up, right up to the top, And then look at that, I can pop down my collar and then go about my day. Like I said, that 4-in-hand knot is pretty popular with a lot of people. It's very easy to tie. Yes, it's got a little intricate steps there at the end, but again, pretty easy. So remember those steps. Why? Because now we're going to tie the Prince Albert knot, which again, same steps, but we're adding an extra loop, and I'll show you. Probably at the end, once I tie all three, I'll probably tie all three again, just because people keep coming in and out of the live. So anyways, Prince Albert knot. I have my tie same position as before with the bigger end on my right shoulder. What I want to do is I'm going to cross the smaller end over. I'm going to bring it underneath. Again, same steps as 4-in-hand knot. I'm going to position my finger right here as a guide. I'm going to go around once, bring it underneath, and I'm going to go around a second time. And then it's just all the original same steps. I'm going to bring it up. And then I'm going to finish by going down where my fingers are. It's going to get, with the next knot, it's going to be tricky to finish with this last part here. So again, to bring it up to the top, I have the smaller end. I'm going to pull down, knot itself, I'm going to push up. And I'm just going to bring that right to the top. And this is a Prince Albert knot. So again, very similar to the 4-in-hand knot, but look, we have an extra loop here. If you're going to tie this knot or the knot that I'm going to show you next, the Van Wyck knot, it's beneficial, and you'll find it's a standout if you wear a solid colored tie. I ended up tying the Prince Albert for a video one time. I chose a pattern tie. Guess what? I could not, like on camera, you could not notice that there's 2 tiers right here. So with this one and the Van Wyck that I'll tie next, it's beneficial because you can see the 2 tiers, you can see the separation, just like that. So you've tied 1, you tied the 4-in-hand, you've tied 2, you've tied the Prince Albert. So, like I said, one more step to tie the Van Wyck knot. And again, we're using a little bit more fabric here. So if you happen to position your smaller end on your 5th button, maybe start to bring it up to your 4th. Finally, like I said, Van Wyck knot. Bigger end on my right, smaller on the left. It's staying in the exact same position. Cross it over. I'm going to go underneath. Guess what? I'm going to use my finger here once again as a guide. I'm going to go over once, bring it underneath, twice, bring it underneath, and then guess what? I'm going around one more time. From here, again, same steps. We're going to go up my neck right here. And look, I still have my finger set right here just as a guide again, and because we're now using a lot more fabric, it's going to be very difficult to actually feed this bigger end down through all these tiers. So this might take a while. And that's the thing, you might have to loosen it up a little bit so you can actually feed the bigger end all the way down here. I'm just trying to grab a piece. Ooh. It's okay if it sort of looks like that, because guess what? You're going to sort of play with it to make sure it's completely finished right at the end. And like I said, because this uses a lot of fabric, my belt line is here and the tie finishes not even close to my belt line. So if you're going to tie this, I'd recommend maybe you know, putting, if you had wearing a vest or whatever, because like I said, this isn't finishing where it should be right here, the bigger end. But like I said, this is a Van Wyck knot. We have 1, 2, 3 tiers right here. If we actually pop down the collar and position it a little bit, we can separate it the way we want to. And I just moving the tiers so you can actually see all 3 tiers. But it would end just like that. 1, 2, 3, not bad. Not really sure. I mean, that's the thing. Wearing these knots, completely up to you. Obviously, I wouldn't wear it in probably a business setting or format. Especially this knot, the Prince Albert and this knot, I wouldn't wear for like a business attire or business setting. 4-in-hand knot, sure. That, like I said, that's a go-to knot, no problem. But because this one's a little much, I say much with a grain of salt. Again, it's just got those 3 tiers. And like I said, if my belt line is here, it's finishing halfway. So it's not completely getting to my belt line. So if you have a vest on or something over top just to cover that, that lack of, I guess, spacing, you're going to be fine. But again, setting is pretty much up to you. But I just, like I said, I wouldn't recommend a business setting. So anyways, that was 3 different tie knots that I'll probably actually go over quickly. Again, we have a 4-in-hand knot, Prince Albert knot, and we finish with the Van Wyck knot. If you tie the 4-in-hand knot, guess what? Prince Albert knot and Van Wyck knot, very easy to tie because as we just saw, it's only an additional step. And then 2 additional steps with the Van Wyck. But like I said, you get a cool little finishing knot. I think it looks cool. Again, especially if you have a solid colored tie, it really shows off those tiers. So, like I said, because people keep on coming in and out of the live, I think I'll just go over them again. Again, like I said, this is technically your time. If you have a tie and you want to sort of follow along or attempt to follow along, this is your time to, especially if you're a beginner learning how to tie a tie. Hey, you came to the right place. Like I said, I'm tying the 4-in-hand knot, which is one of the most popular knots besides Windsor knot. Hence why I said in the poll, if you haven't answered that yet, what's your go-to if you actually tie ties? Mine is the Windsor knot, but again, a lot of people like to tie the 4-in-hand knot. And the Windsor knot is winning, and again, that's my go-to. But again, this is a video about the 4-in-hand and a couple others. If people want me to, of course, I'll show how to tie the Windsor knot, but that wasn't my main focus for the video today. Anyways, like I said, 4-in-hand knot now, I'll show you how to tie it completely. Say if you have a tie with you, guess what? This is going to be a mirrored video. So my right shoulder might look like your left in the video. I'm not sure. I haven't, like I said, I don't really go live too much, so I don't have any feedback. But this is a 4-in-hand knot. Let's go. So, like I said earlier, with the 4-in-hand knot, with most ties, you want the bigger end ending right at your belt line. So a cool tip to actually get it to sit and rest at your belt line is you're going to actually count out the buttons on your dress shirt. Again, your dress shirt, each button, except for the top, is pretty much evenly spaced. To get it sitting at the belt line, what I like to do is I count out 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. I have 4 and 5 right there. You want to position your smaller end in between those 2 buttons. You can put it either on the 4th, the 5th, or somewhere in between. That's the thing, it's going to be trial and error for it, and depending on your tie length, to actually get it sitting at your belt line. So I'm going to position mine probably at my 4th, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to position it right on my 4th. I have the bigger end on my right shoulder, smaller end on my left. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bigger end, I'm going to cross it over top of the smaller end. Taking it now, I'm just going to go underneath. And then a lot of people do this, and it's a good technique to use. I take a finger, normally my index finger, and I point it upside down. And then I take the bigger end, and guess what? You're going over top of that index finger right there. It's going to help as a guide because once we finish, we're going to go down where my finger is. So right here, I have the bigger end. I'm just going to bring it up my neck right here. So I'm going to bring that up. And then, like I said, I still have my finger there as a guide. I'm going to take my bigger end and I'm just going to feed that down where my finger is right there. All the way down, perfect. To actually move it up to your top of the collar, you're going to find the smaller end, you're going to pull down on the smaller end, and you're going to take the knot itself and actually push up. So I'm going to do that right now. Push up and pull down. And then you can pop down your collar. And look at that, that's the 4-in-hand knot. Very popular knot. Like I said, I like to go tie the Windsor knot just because, again, it depends if you're wearing this knot frequently, but this knot likes to sag a bit. And it's very easy for it to sag. And a lot of people like the 4-in-hand knot because you can actually unloosen this, take it off, hang it up. Say if you're not tying tie every day, you can just tie it once, take it off, and then, like I said, just reposition it up to the top again. One sort of caution there is if you only have a couple ties and you happen to do that, over time, this knot keeping the same form, if you ever were to actually take it off or untie it completely, that's going to actually wrinkle in that area. Yes, and you're probably thinking wrinkle in that area. It will, if that stays like that fabric there, it will either form into that shape. So when you take it off, it's all going to be crisscrossy, or it's actually going to wrinkle. So hence why I always take the tie down completely every time to avoid wrinkles. When I'm done for the day, guess what? Because of the tie is a vertical piece of clothing, what I do is I take a hanger, and obviously there's a straight bar that goes across a hanger. I hang the tie vertically on the hanger like that. So again, helps avoid getting wrinkles. It's a little bit easier in the morning or whenever you're getting the ties because guess what? You can actually see them all sort of in a row once you have them on your hanger, or I don't know where you put them, but if you don't, hang them in the closet. All right, like I said, that's first knot was 4-in-hand. The other 2 knots, like I said, are sort of a step up from the 4-in-hand. And I don't mean step up meaning better. Step up meaning an additional step. Yes, so we have the 4-in-hand knot. You'll see the Prince Albert that I'm going to tie now. Exactly the same steps. What we're doing, we're just adding another loop to do the Prince Albert knot. And then, like I said, I'm going to finish with the Van Wyck knot. Guess what? That's 2 additional steps. For those people who just joined, if you happen to tie knots, I put a poll down in the chat. I'm curious to see. I just tied the 4-in-hand knot. Is that one of your go-to knots? Or are you more of a Windsor person like myself? I do like the Windsor knot. Anyways, like I said, Prince Albert knot now. Same steps, same setup. I'm going to flip my tie so it's actually not seam side out. But I'm going to position probably on the same button right now. Once we get into this one and then the Van Wyck knot, you'll see that the Van Wyck actually takes up quite a bit of fabric, so we want to position the smaller end a little bit differently at the start. I have the bigger end on my right shoulder, smaller end on my left. We take the bigger end right now, we cross it over a smaller end. Move a little closer so you can watch. Taking the bigger end, I'm just going to go underneath. And then, a lot of people like to do this, same steps as a four-in-hand knot. I'm going to take my finger, I'm going to position it vertically by pointing down, or in a way that I can actually control it, I guess, and make it easier for myself. I'm going to go across once. I'm going to bring it underneath. Guess what? We're going another time. And with this one, with a Van Wyck, that second loop can be a little looser because we'll tighten it after. It makes it a little easier to finish with. Bring this up. And then guess what? Where my finger is right now, we're going to take the bigger end and we're going to go right down that little loop right there, bring it all the way up. Same with the four-in-hand knot. To bring it up to the top of your collar, taking the smaller end, we're going to pull down. Bigger end, we're going to move it up, and we're just going to move it right up to the top. But, like I said, this isn't a four-in-hand knot, this is the Prince Albert knot. And the key difference here is that Prince Albert knot, we have one and we have a second tier right there. Makes it a little different, but again, the same steps as four-in-hand knot. If you're going to tie this, I highly recommend tying this with a solid colored tie, just because you can see those tiers once it's actually finished. Those people who just joined, would you wear this? Let me know. Put a thumbs up or put a Y in the chat. And for no, if you would not wear this at all, I don't know. Like I said, it's an easier tie if you haven't really tied ties before. Very easy steps. All right. And again, we're going to completely untie the knot itself. Okay, final knot. Like I said, it's another progression from the other two. This is a Van Wyck knot. Very fancy knot. Would I wear it to a business setting or an event? Probably not. So just remember that. This is like sort of just a playful knot if you're going out somewhere where it's not that fancy or sort of businessy, we can say, I guess. Could possibly be a knot that you tie. Because this is going to take up additional fabric, I'm going to start my smaller end. I normally start it on the 4th button. I'm going to move it up a little higher than that because, like I said, you'll see this actually takes up quite a bit of fabric. So I have the bigger end on my right shoulder. That did not change at all. I'm going to take it, I'm going to bring it, and then we're going to cross a smaller end. From here, we're going to bring it underneath. And then guess what? Same steps as four-in-hand knot. I'm going to take my index finger. I'm going to position it vertically, and I'm going to go over once. And I want to do these loose. I don't want to go over tight. I want to do these crosses and make them loose because, like I said, in the end, this will be a little bit challenging to finish. So we're going to do these loops a little lighter, or sorry, not as tight. So we go once over. I'm going to bring it underneath. I'm going to go twice. Guess what? I'm going back underneath. And then one more time. Again, hopefully those are a little bit looser because we'll find out it's going to be a little challenging to actually finish a knot. From here, I finish by going over with my 3rd loop. I'm going to bring the bigger end and I'm going to go up right around here, right around my neck. So sorry, 3rd. I'm going to bring it up. And then, like I said, As soon as you bring that up, guess what? All this fabric likes to tighten. So this part next is going to be a little challenging. I have my finger here and I was using it as a guide. I'm going to take the bigger end now and I'm going to attempt to feed this all the way down to finish a knot. So this part will take a little longer, but I just want to try and force the bigger end down, and then I can actually grab the bigger end. Hopefully the knot doesn't move around too much. Anyways, finally that actually happened. It was a little easier than I thought. We have the knot itself now. It's not completely done, but I'll show you. First, we're going to bring it so it finishes up right up at the top of my collar. Find the smaller end, we're going to pull down, grab that big knot itself, and we're going to actually push it up. So same time, I'm just going to bring that right up. So Van Wyck knot has 3 different tiers, and this is why I say to tie this with a solid color tie, because now we actually get to go in here and actually do some separation. So we want all 3 tiers showing. Something like that. So we have 1, 2, 3. And again, you might have to play around with that a bit, especially if this is the first time you're tying the Van Wyck knot. And then we can sort of reposition it. The tiers shouldn't be like really spread out, but should just roughly be showing like that, just to give it a little symmetry. And again, like I said, because we used a lot of fabric here, the normal tie would finish at my belt line. Yes, we are a little short. We could have compensated by taking the smaller end and moving it up and starting a little shorter. But I was going to recommend, if you're tying the Van Wyck, very nice. Those people in the chat, look at this knot. Would you wear this? Again, I wouldn't wear it in a business setting, but fun party or whatever, it's pretty eye-catching. Anyways, so with this one, I would either wear a vest, put it over top, so it's sort of right here. It's going to compensate for that length issue. Or like if you happen to wear a cardigan or a pullover or whatever, even that's the thing, if you wear a long sleeve pullover sweater, that's pretty much all you're seeing. That's still good. So, but yeah, consider that. Like I said, if you're new to tying ties, I just show you how to tie the 4-in-hand knot, Prince Albert knot, and the Van Wyck knot. And guess what? Once you learn how to tie the 4-in-hand knot, the other 2 knots, very simple and easy to tie. We're only doing an additional step each time. So I hope you find that useful. Again, people keep coming into the chat or coming into the live when I happen to already be done tying the ties, which is fine. Let's see the poll here. Windsor knot, like I said, that's my go-to. And that's the thing, I wasn't going to tie the Windsor knot. I wanted to keep this pretty like straightforward, a cool little progression video. But again, if you've been here for a while already, I'll just show you how to tie the Windsor knot right now, just because this is my go-to knot all the time. Why? Because unlike the 4-in-hand knot, once the tie and the knot is up at the collar, it's not moving anywhere. Whereas with the 4-in-hand knot, you might have that tie knot actually droop a bit. So I'll show you how to tie a Windsor knot. If you happen to know a tie knot that you want me to attempt to tie live, again, I don't even know, like, we'll have to pull out of my memory because I've tied quite a bit of ties. We will see if I can remember. But yeah, if you want me to tie a specific knot, put in the chat. I'll see if I can actually remember how to tie that, and then we'll go from there. But like I said, this is a Windsor knot. It's probably my favorite, very popular. I got the bigger end on my right shoulder, smaller end on my left. And like I said, the bigger end with most ties, sorry, with pretty much all ties, the bigger end should be finishing right at your belt line. So a tip on how to do that is we actually take the smaller end, and I count out either 4 or 5 buttons on my dress shirt. I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I have 5. And I'm going to position my smaller end either on the 4th button, on the 5th button, or somewhere in between those two. Again, this might be trial and error with tying. You might have to try it on the 4th, try it on the 5th, but tying it within that range, guess what? It's going to finish right at that belt line. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'll go 5. This is a longer tie. You got to remember that too. You might have a longer tie. Okay. Windsor knot. I was going to say four-in-hand knot. Windsor knot. Taking the bigger end, I'm going to cross it over top of the smaller end. From here, I'm actually going to bring it up my neck right here. I'm going to bring it up. And I'm just going to move it down to the same side that it was sort of on. From here, I'm going to bring it underneath. And we're crossing, yes, we're going underneath the smaller end. And this time I'm going to take the bigger end and I'm going to go down this time. So I'm just going to bring it down. And it's sort of finishing on this side. So I'm just going to move it a little bit over to that side. Guess what? Pretty simple. Again, we're finishing the knot right here. We're going to take it and we're going to go across. It makes that nice face right there. And then you can sort of play around with this for like positioning wise. I normally just like grab the knot right here, and then I'm taking the bigger end and I'm going to bring it up right here. I'm going to bring it up. Perfect. And then guess what? We're going to finish by actually going down this cross we just made. So I'm like to just loosen it just a little bit. And then I'm going to feed the bigger end right down there. And I'm going to pull a little bit. Anyways, to move this knot up to the top of your collar, again, same steps if you happen to be here for a while. I'm going to take the smaller end, I'm going to pull down, but I'm also going to push up on the knot itself. So I'm going to do both of those now. I'm going to move it right up to my collar. And then we are going to pop the collar. And like I said, if people are like skeptical as, did that tip work with the positioning of the small end to meet at your belt line? Pretty much. Like I said, you might have to play around with it, but this ends right at my belt line, which should happen pretty much every time you tie a knot. Yes, I don't have my dress shirt tucked in. I'm wearing jeans, so I wasn't even you weren't going to see my full body anyways. But look at that. That's a Windsor knot. Very, very nice knot, especially if you wear a solid color. You just get a little bit of pop there also. And I'm just checking the pull. If you look at the pull right now, this is the Windsor knot. This knot is one of my favorites. And right now it's winning. I mean, I only had 5 votes in the poll anyways, but 3 to 2. So I think most people or other people agree that this knot is pretty good. And there we go, Windsor knot. To untie it, like I said, a lot of people will attempt to loosen this and then take it off slip it over their head, and then just slip it back on and tighten it again when it's time to wear a tie again. The only downside to that is if you continue to do that, if you just loosen it, slip it over your head, guess what? Over time, if you do happen to untie it completely, that's actually going to form wrinkles on the tie, especially depending on the fabric you have too. But because everything's bunched up right here, and we did a lot of crossing. If you ever were to untie that, there's a good chance that there would be wrinkles there, because of the constant, just unloosening, slipping it over, taking it, putting it back on. So every time should be completely unloosening the tie, because it, like I said, is good practice for next time, especially if you're a beginner. Yes, I know it's probably beneficial if you tie the tie and then you can actually loosen it, slip it over, and then bring it back over, tie it. But what if you ever have to do that again in the future? If you actually untie it and then tie it again each time, it's only going to benefit you. It's going to help you out in the long run. So continue to tie it every time. Oh, a lot of tying videos, or I guess instructions tonight. I mean, then again, like I said, people keep popping in and out. So it's always good to just do it again, just in case people happen to come in late. So. But yeah, nobody else, well, nobody really put down a knot that you want me to tie. Again, like I said, it would be, I know so much, but do I remember the steps? Probably not. So if you happen to have a tie that you wanted me to actually tie on camera so you could follow along, throw it in the chat. Who knows? I might remember. I don't know, but yeah. But a lot of people just came in. If you just came in, take a look at the poll right now. Are you Team Windsor like myself, or Team 4-in-hand knot? I know those two are pretty popular. Go check out that poll. I'm hoping a lot of people choose Windsor knot, because like I said, that's a pretty good knot to tie. Then again, who knows? It's your decision. Oh, well, I think I'll tie the Windsor again. I'll tie the 4-in-hand knot again, because like I said, those two I've listed in the poll and they're pretty popular. The other ones that I tied, like I said, I just thought it was cool because they're actual progressions of the 4-in-hand knot, and they're pretty easy to follow. But I think I'll do the 4-in-hand, I'll tie that, I'll tie the Windsor knot again. And then, I mean, I've been on here for approaching 40 minutes. It did not feel like 40 minutes. And nobody's liked the video or the live. Then again, maybe people have, and I just haven't noticed. But yeah, we'll do those two again, and then we'll end it. So like I said, we're gonna do 4-in-hand knot again and Windsor knot. So again, poll in the chat, Team Windsor like myself, and hey, if you say Windsor knot, good for you. Or Team 4-in-hand, like I said, both are pretty popular knots. But we'll tie the 4-in-hand knot again right now. So I have the bigger end on my right shoulder, smaller end, it's on my left shoulder. The bigger end should always, depending on whatever tie you tie, if possible, should always try and finish at your belt line. So what a tip that I do here, to have it finish right at the belt line, because like I said, that's most professional, especially if you do happen to have your shirt tucked in. Yes, I don't. But if it's right there, it sort of flows with the rest of your outfit. Anyways, to get it to actually sit at the belt line, I like to count out 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I count out 4 and 5 buttons on my dress shirt. Why? Because I can now position the smaller end to either start at the 4th button, start at the 5th button, or go in between. It's all trial and error. And whoever just liked the live, thank you. I've been on for 40 minutes showing people how to tie ties. I thought I would at least get one like earlier by then. Anyways, thank you. Anyways, so I can either do the 4th button or the 5th button. And again, it all depends on the tie length that you have, sort of how tall you are too, and again, what tie knot you're actually tying. So because this is 4-in-hand, doesn't really use too much fabric, but to try and get it sitting at the belt line, because this tie is longer, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to start with the smaller end right on my 5th button. And again, if it doesn't sit close to the belt line, you can always retie it, move it up or down, depending. Anyways, I'm going to take the bigger end, I'm going to cross it over the smaller end. From here, I'm going to go underneath. And then, if you've been here before or know this knot, good for you. I like to take my index finger and I like to position it vertically but pointing down. It's easier that way. And I'm going to take my bigger end now and just cross it over my finger. And again, it's a little difficult. Hey, you know what? Good for you. That's why I'm here. That's sort of why I created my channel. Attempt to show people how to do a simple skill, simple life skill. So I appreciate that. Anyways, I take the bigger end now. I'm just going to go right across my finger. And like I said, it's pretty difficult if you are new, more so with where do you actually hold on to the knot, because it is a little tricky. I don't know, I normally put another finger just across to hold it. It depends on how you want to hold it. From here, I take the bigger end and I'm going to bring it right up this area right here of my neck. If I can. The smaller end keeps getting in the way. So I bring it up right up my neck. Guess what? I still have my finger there. Why? Because now we take the bigger end and we're going to actually bring it down that loop where my finger is right now. So I'm going to just, holy cow, everything's getting away. I'm going to remove my finger and I'm just going to take the bigger end and I'm just going to feed that right down. Like that. Again, very nice knot. To finish it up, we're going to move this knot right up to the top of our collar right now. So I have the smaller end here. You're going to find the smaller end. We're going to take the smaller end. We're going to actually pull down. We're going to grab the knot in the other hand and we're going to move this. We're going to actually push up. So I'll do that now. So I'm pulling down, pushing up. And there we go. When we pop down the collar, again, very, very nice knot. Like I said, if you're curious as to why I don't like the 4-in-hand knot, why my go-to is a Windsor knot, you might be in the same boat. But the 4-in-hand knot, because it's very loose steps, we can say, sometimes this likes to droop it a little bit. Obviously, maybe not that much, but it likes to droop. And I often find when I'm wearing it, I have to keep positioning it or moving it up to the top of my collar. So that's a downside there. A positive could be, and again, I don't like promote this all the time. But say if you happen to, I don't know, you're doing something where you have to remove the tie for a quick second, but you're going to be wearing it again. What you can do is just grab both ends on the opposite sides of the knot and actually pull it down. This now gives you the option to take the tie off. You can hang that up and guess what? It's going to stay in that form. It's going to stay that knot. And then we can just put it back on when we're ready to put it back on. And same steps again, pull down, push up. But why I don't like doing that, and I don't suggest it, I don't sort of promote that, we can say, is because if you do that from time to time, or you don't tie a lot of knots, and this one just stays as four in hand knot, guess what? Over time, this can actually wrinkle the tie if it actually stays in this position, and you keep on like unloosening it, make it tight again. Over time, that will actually cause wrinkles if you do actually decide to fully take it off, fully untie it. So that's why I do not promote or do not recommend that you actually take it off just by loosening it, unless you're like, you know, it's within the same day. So, and you're just doing something, maybe changing, put it back on, there we go. Finally, we'll finish with the Windsor knot. Again, this is my go-to knot because once we finish right at the top, unlike the four in hand knot, that Windsor knot stays in position, it does not move. And I just like it because it's a little bit more crisp. Obviously, I recommend solid color tie, but then again, any tie, you can do this with any tie. It's going to look good regardless. So again, same setup, same areas. We have the bigger end on my right shoulder, smaller end on my left. If we want the bigger end to sit at our belt line, same setup. I'm going to count out 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Because this is a bigger tie, I'm going to position the smaller end of my 5th button. From here, I'm going to take the bigger end, we're going to cross over. We're going to take the bigger end and we're actually going to go up my neck right here. So take it, we're going to go up. And then we'll let it fall to that side. We're not going to cross it. So we're going to let it fall to that side. From here, we're going to go underneath. And yes, it's sort of underneath the smaller end. And then with this extra bit on this side, the bigger end, we're going to actually go down this way. So I take it, and I'm going to go down. And again, because we're going down on that side, I'm going to sort of let it go to this side. And to finish, we're going to take it now, and we're going to make the face. Look at that. We're going to go right across. I like to put a finger or a couple right here just to hold the knot itself. And then I'm going to take the bigger end, and guess what? We're going to go up again, right here. And then we're going to actually finish. We can loosen this a little bit. We're going to finish by going down this cross. Sort of tighten it a bit. Pull it right down. Same steps to tighten it. Pull down on the smaller end and grab the knot itself. We're going to push up. Right up to the top. And then we can pop down the collar. And again, like I said, if you're like thinking with my little tip as to where to position the smaller end, like I said, with all knots, the bigger end should finish right about your belt line. Yes, I don't have my shirt tucked in, but we can see it finishes right at the belt line. Pretty cool tip, and I made a very separate video, very short separate video about that. But then again, you just got a live version of that right here. And then with the Windsor knot, it's somewhat cool, I guess we can say. But we want to sort of add a point to the knot itself, just because it looks a little crisp. It's nicer looking. So often the time when I tie it, I'll finish and I'll just take my 2 fingers here and I'll sort of squeeze them together to get a sort of a point right at the end. Just looks a little better. But Anyways, that is the Windsor knot. I've tied many ties tonight. Four in hand knot, Windsor knot, Prince Albert knot, and the Van Wyck knot. I mean, I guess four, but I've tied them twice. All of them twice, I think. So again, the main video here today was, hey, if you tie the four in hand knot, you know how to tie that one. Guess what? You can now tie the Prince Albert knot and the Van Wyck knot because we're only adding an additional step each time. Anyways, for those of you who are still here after quite a bit, I appreciate comments, likes. Like I said, this is new to me. I've done horizontal live before. More so, I think I did a horizontal live showing people how to iron a shirt. So vertical live, this is different for me. Might as well try it out. We'll probably do it again. I think it was beneficial. Anyways, thanks again for watching. We'll see you hopefully next time. If you haven't subscribed yet, a lot of DIY life skills on my channel. Go check it out. We'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.